Okay, we are live, but we'll let it breathe just for a moment here while we bring on everybody, including these Instagram peeps. It's going to be a gas. Can't wait, can't wait. And we are good. Welcome in, everybody. It is the Mile High Huddle podcast. I'm your host, Chad Jensen, and with me is my fellow football priest. You know him, you love him, Zack Kelberman. Zack, as we sift through the aftermath of preseason game 2, the Broncos kind of putting the spank down on the Packers' second and third team units. How are you feeling about things one day removed?
Still riding that high from Bo Nix, Chad. I know it's preseason, but like we talked about last night, it just feels different with Bo Nix this time around. And just collecting the receipts. That's what I spent today doing. Not necessarily taking everything personal, but a lot of national media now are coming around on Bo Nix. Surprise, surprise. They're saying could be the best quarterback in the draft. Sean Payton got his guy. Look out for the Broncos. Where was this a few months ago? But we've been knowing it the entire time, Chad. We've been saying it the entire time.
It's true, man. I can't wait. The thing is these people need to eat their crow. You know what I mean? Like if it's people saying this now who are slamming him, but hey, pump the brakes a little bit. Preseason game 2. I think it's going to come out on the wash just the way it feels right now. And Zack, we've been wrong before. We got excited about Drew Lock. I mean, everybody got excited about Paxton Lynch before we kind of saw what he was. But so far, again, one of the things that gives me encouragement beyond the fact that Sean Payton is the steward of this thing is at every step of the way, so far, he's been as advertised. And I kind of sound like a broken record in that, but when they consistently meet the expectation, there's something to be taken away. There's a lesson there.
There is, and if you don't want our opinion, if you think we're biased, or you don't want to hear Sean Payton's opinion because you think he's biased about Bo Nix, listen to Bo Nix's teammates talk about him. Someone like Patrick Surtain, who's infinitely more accomplished as a pro, obviously. Something that jumped out to me in his post-game presser yesterday was he said that Bo Nix played good as usual. And those last two words in there, as usual, for a rookie and only making 2 appearances in the preseason, just speaks volumes as to the impression he's made behind closed doors, let alone in front of them.
Well said. We got Sam Bam kicking things off for us tonight on Super Chat. Always great to see you, big dog. Thank you for the super. He says, evening, guys. Knicks 2 for 2 in preseason games thus far. Should no doubt be the starter, in my opinion. I'm feeling very optimistic about the future of the Broncos. Go Broncos, hashtag Bo Leave. That's right, 2 preseason games. Didn't start the first one, obviously, but 7 drives total that he has presided over. 6 of them have totaled points, Zack, 30 points combined. Doesn't take a sack, still hasn't been sacked. Moves the ball on third down. I mean, the chains just keep moving. You have some confidence. You have some belief that when the chips are down on the money down, or if you're in the red zone, the ball gets punched in. I was listening to Scott and Nick this morning on Broncos for breakfast. I was kind of out and about. Normally, I'm locked in on a Monday morning after a football game, a Bronco game, because there's just so much news and stuff to get to. But had an appointment that I couldn't miss, so I'm listening to stuff in the car, listening to Nick, I'm listening to Scott, and one of the things Nick brought up, I'll paraphrase him, but it's to the effect of just kind of the production you get from Bo Nix in the red zone. Like, that is something we haven't seen, Zack, from a Broncos quarterback in many moons.
You put it best. It was either last night or Thursday about the prior preseason game that we're not really wondering if the Broncos are going to convert a third down. We're wondering how the Broncos are going to convert a third down. And they're better in the red zone. They're better on third down. They're also working the middle of the field, something that was invisible with Russell Wilson under center. Again, the tight ends involved, the receivers. It's just like 2024 modern offense that's not hamstrung in any way by its operator. Bo Nix also had a passer rating of 140.7, took no sacks. He only had 1 incompletion. Chad, when his biggest mistake of the night was a touchdown pass that was called back because it was a ticky-tack over the line forward pass, pretty good day at the office.
I'll say, David McElrath in the house. What's up, brother? Papa Bear saying, good evening, Broncos country. Chad, Zack, and Deacon Scott. 2024 will be outstanding, he says. Hashtag 12-5. God bless the USA. Buckham, MHH for life. Broncos for life. Knicks for 6. Wait, here's a new one. Promo Promote Bo Nix. Okay, yes. And the defense was outstanding. Yeah, let's shift gears just for a second, Zach. The defense, I mean, it's one game. It's looked pretty solid 2 games, but obviously the Colts did put up 30 points. But still, I wrote about this today. In fact, not long before we went live, Vance Joseph's defense, even the 2s and the 3s, exceeding some expectations last night.
For sure, yeah, and the big story was the pass rushers, Nick Benito, and especially Jonah Ellis, who's been one of the biggest surprises of the summer. I think I read that he graded out as the top rookie edge defender in the NFL for preseason week 2, the entire league. So it's a good rarefied air for Ellis to be in. But there's some more to the defense, Chad. I want to see how safety develops. I want to see how cornerback 2 shakes out. But overall, I like the attacking style that VJ is employing in year 2 as DC.
We got a couple matters of business, but first let's grab 1 or 2 more supers. We're not going to keep the Duchess waiting, so we'll grab Franklin, we'll grab Michaela, then we'll handle that. But Franklin, thank you, buddy. Good to see you. That Bo Nix jersey's looking dope, my friend. He says, got the new jersey, so there's no doubt people know Nix runs the show in Broncos country. I love it, dude. It's very once again, it's Muhammad Ali, where you're rhyming everything. There's no doubt people know Nix runs the show. That's what I love it. Give the man his keys, Sean Payton. Evening to all Broncos fans. I know you're as excited as I am for the season. Yes, indeed, brother. And thank you, Franklin. Really appreciate you, buddy. The Duchess jumping in with 2 top rope super chats.
Thank you.
She's excited. I'm so excited, to quote Borat. And so am I. So am I. She says, so excited. Broncos country. Let's Bo. I like it. Can't wait to see you all on the 15th. Much love. And then she goes on to say here, Zach, Bo is checking all the boxes for me. And I got to tell you, Michaela, you're checking all the boxes for me. So love you. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
I want to echo that, Michaela. You're amazing as usual. And the only thing I could say is what I said before is I'm so glad to see that you're happy and positive and looking forward and excited about the Broncos season with Bo Nix under center. Thank you so much again, as usual.
Love you. Love you. Can't wait to see you in a couple weeks, 2-3 weeks, whatever it is. Not too long from now, a little under a month, I guess. But guys, lots more to get to. But first, we got to remind you, all right, the big wireless providers, you know how it goes. With them, what you see is never what you get. Somewhere between the store and that first month's bill, the price that you thought you were paying, it magically goes through the roof, skyrockets. But with Mint Mobile, you'll never have to worry about those gotchas ever again. When Mint Mobile says, hey, $15 a month, when you purchase a 3-month plan, they mean it. So say bye-bye like this to your overpriced wireless plans, jaw-dropping monthly bills, and unexpected overages.
To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/huddle. That's mintmobile.com/huddle. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/huddle. $45 payment upfront required, equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details.
All right. Back to the chat. Let's see what's on y'all's mind. Like Eric Flynn jumping in with some stars on Facebook. Thank you, buddy. So consistent. We really, really appreciate you, bro. I hope you know that. No doubt about it. We also have got the Ronk checking in. What's up, bro? I don't know what we do without the mayor of the MHH community on Facebook saying, good evening, Chad and Zach on the Mile High Huddle podcast. Go Broncos. Yes, indeed, baby. It feels good to have you in the house, my friend. Hey, Shiloh. He says, hey, everyone. Ornery about the questions. Sure. So I put that, in the headline. Why is Sean Payton so ornery about Bo Nix? Ornery. I would always say as a kid, ornery, my dad's being ornery or whatever, but ornery. And then I imagine my grandpa saying it. And I was thinking, that's like saying washed, ornery. No, but that's actually the word, ornery, But Zach, what do you make of him? And then we'll get to Shiloh here. What do you make of Sean Payton kind of being snappy at the Bo Nix questions last night? Like, what did you expect, Sean? Well, if you expected Bo Nix to go out and do Bo Nix, obviously. So then what did you expect the media to do? Just like not ask you a question about Bo Nix? It's moments like this where it's like, hey, Sean, come on, dude. Either feed him the red meat or like don't be a head coach. Like sometimes you got to answer these type of questions, dude. Like at least be a player. Hey, I already answered that, but we'll get to the decision quickly. Well, you have the story, Zach. Break it down.
Yeah, I'll give some context really quickly. Sean Payton was inundated with Bo Nix questions, as you might expect after last night's game. And after the third one, he said, "All right, I'm putting a cap on the Bo questions here." And Chad, he should expect it, but I think what rubbed him the wrong way was that the question, the context was, is the band still playing? Because there were previous comments he made that he wasn't ready to call the competition because the band was still playing and he's still dancing. So he said, the band sounds pretty good. I'm not dancing. Listen, there are a ton of things we did well. I'm not announcing a starter. And I told you I'll get with you when we do. So it's, again, Sean Payton not really taking too kindly to the media. And we have the clip right here.
Yeah, hit it, Scott. This is
Chuck, you told Kay Adams the band still has to play a couple more times, using that metaphor, knowing it's not done yet. How's the band sounding? How are things progressing?
Listen, this is all right. Putting the cap on the Bo questions right here. The band sounds pretty good. I'm not dancing. Listen, there are a lot of things we did well as a team. All right, I'm not announcing a starter, and I told you I'll get with you when we do.
So, like many things, Zach, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And he comes off as just snappy or ornery. It's like, hey, dude, cut D-Mac some slack. But still, once again, you could tell by this point, if you watch the presser, you could tell, Zach, in the flow of things that he was already kind of over the Bo Nix questions. So leave it to D-Mac to poke the bear, right? Like one last time. That's kind of his thing, and I give him props for it.
Yeah, Sean Payton being Sean Payton. That's all I could really say. He doesn't like the media too much, and that was like the third or fourth question he got in a row about Bo Nix. So again, it's like, what can you expect? But also, what can the media expect knowing how Sean Payton is? If he wasn't going to announce a starter, if he didn't want to do it, they're not going to pry it out of him.
Yeah, I love Sean Payton. Just so you guys know, I'm sure you have picked up on this. I mean, when he was getting thrown under the bus for the Russ stuff, I'm a Sean Payton believer. I'm a hashtag in Sean we trust, but it's like, come on, dude, make it a little bit easier on the media. And I don't just say that, Zach, out of our own self-interest here at MHH, but like, we are the conduit to the fans. You have millions of fans around the world. I mean, just on Facebook alone, the Broncos have something like 4 million followers. And that still doesn't represent all the Broncos fans on the planet Earth. The media's job is to basically continue to keep them interested in you, your team, and what you're doing. And if you didn't figure that out the year you spent, Sean, at Fox Sports, like, come on, dude, just like be a little bit kinder, a little bit, just a little bit. But I'll say this, Zach, hasn't it seemed like we got a little bit better media press availability in year 2 of the Payton regime?
It does. I just don't think Sean Payton cares what the perception of him with the media is. He doesn't like him, and he's not going to give them any more than he has to. And it's a lot like Bill Parcells, and that's his mentor from way back. Or Belichick, exactly. They weren't too friendly with the press. They were very much state-run media in-house.
And both Belichick and Payton, Parcells coaching tree, right? So it adds up. It makes sense. The arithmetic definitely adds up. All right. Hey, what's up? We got Papo listening from Trenton, New Jersey. Great to have you with us, big dog. See, Broncos country, it's not a geographic location. Y'all know this. It's a state of being. All right. That's what it is. Zach, let's see what else we got here. Pearl saying hi to Pearl. What's up? Celebrate. Yes, indeed. We've got, let's see what Savage Boy Kev on Twitch. I don't know about anyone else, but Chris Abrams-Drain looking like a huge steal. Zach, this is a subject you're obviously nodding your head on, but you've also written on this subject since the preseason started. Your thoughts on the rookie 5th-round corner?
Yeah, I have to do a couple more rewatches of yesterday's game, but I did extensive watching of the Colts game, and, he was pretty airtight when he had to guard his man. He allowed no receptions on, I think, 19 defensive snaps in preseason week 1. He had a coverage rating of north of 90, which was stellar according to Pro Football Focus, 5th highest grade overall on the team. I don't think he's quite there yet to push for that starting role opposite PS2, but I wouldn't be surprised, Chad, if by midseason he's right there atop the depth chart.
Exciting. I mean, I don't know. Riley Moss looked pretty solid again yesterday. Let a guy get behind him, but that physical just intensity he has wasn't a perfect ball, but ended up being incomplete. I like him. He's sticky. Sean Payton talks about that and the fact that he's long. Who was it that got some props? Or I'm trying to remember who gave Mathis props post game. But Mathis might have been Nick. I was on the Broncos for breakfast this morning, giving Mathis. I couldn't recall Damari Mathis jumping out to me, but I've only watched the game once. But the number 2 cornerback position, it's still up for grabs. Doesn't seem like Chris Abrams-Drain, at least right now, Zach, is in serious contention for that. But with these grades continuing to crank out so well, you got to wonder why not. Like, give him a shot. I mean, after all, Chris Harris Jr., this isn't exactly apples to apples, but they did both play corner. You know, Chris Harris Jr., unheralded, didn't even get an invite to the combine, undrafted out of Kansas, and not only makes the roster, but within like 2 weeks, you know, he's basically Jaquan McMillian, right? Like, he's like a starter making plays as a rookie 2011. And maybe that's what the future holds for Chris Abrams-Drain. Big Earn, what's up, bro?
One of the two, either McMillian or McMillan, excuse me. I don't want to be like the masses, Chad. Or Chris Abrams-Drain could be the next Chris Harris Jr. With Damari Mathis, though, he had a big tackle against the Packers, but again, in coverage, he's not the best. And I think the bloom is off that rose. One of either Levi Wallace, Chris Abrams-Drain, or Riley Moss will be the cornerback too.
String guy, what's up, brother? Says, Zach, I thought Nick's footwork looked better than in game 1. What do you think of the kid's mechanics?
I think there were small details that Sean Payton talked about getting better at with Bo Nix coming out of preseason week 1, and you saw it on film in preseason week 2. Now, again, was he absolutely perfect yesterday? No quarterback is going to be, but you can tell that he takes a lesson in quickly, he diagnoses his mistakes quickly, and he rectifies them quickly. I talk about all the time, Bo Nix being obsessed with the minor details, doing the small things right over and over. That's part of that, is if you have a flaw in your game, is identifying it and rectifying it as quickly as possible. I thought he looked better yesterday.
That was one of the surprises, honestly, about his first game, is the production was there, but his technical refinement was a little off. And it was kind of like, well, I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting Bo Nix to be pretty buttoned down with that kind of thing. And again, one viewing so far. I haven't watched any breakdowns on it or anything like that. So just one viewing off the cuff. Seemed like he was a lot more consistent in that regard in game 2. Nick Hale, what's up, brother? Great to see you. He says, what's up, fellas? I hope you're enjoying some preseason winning energy. Most definitely. We'll take that whenever we can get it, Zach. Winning is learned, and it creates an infectious culture. I'm loving it. That's totally true. Winning, you got to not only learn to do it, but expect it. You got to expect to win. He says, last, what's taken so long to announce a starter? Much love, MHH, baby. Yeah, bridge the gap. Appreciate you, bro. What is taking so long? I don't know, dude. I was writing about it today, Zach, and I'm going, a lot of insiders going, yeah, the Broncos are expected to make an announcement on QB1 this week. I'm not so sure, dude. Honestly, like, the way he was acting at the podium last night, in a celebratory, you just like won 27-2, your handpicked first-round rookie quarterback, balled out, played very, very well, and you're up there acting like, you know, someone stole your lunch money this morning. Maybe he won't, Zach, make an announcement until he absolutely has to, and keep, you know, the Seattle Seahawks guessing like it's not going to be Bo Nix.
Maybe. I mean, if I were the Seahawks, I'd be game planning for Bo Nix and not Jarrett Stidham or Zach Wilson week 1. But if he's treating this last preseason game like a regular game week, he didn't speak today, Chad. He's not going to speak tomorrow. That means he would speak Wednesday. I thought it might happen today. Obviously, it didn't. Bo Nix being announced as the starter. But if he has media availability Wednesday, I could see him getting it over with them.
Scott says in our private chat, you don't need to game plan for Stidham or Wilson. Just show up.
10 yards.
Yeah, just show up. You'll be all right. Yeah, it was interesting hearing Sean Payton. I think I saw it on Twitter this afternoon. Was it ESPN Diana? What's her name? Yeah, thank you. Just gushing about, well, someone led with, yeah, Zach Wilson's been amazing the last 2 weeks, coach. And coach was like, yeah. You know, I told him, look, my job's to make you millions, whether that's with us or with someone else out there. And, you know, he's done pretty. He was exceeded my expectations, Zach, in game 1. did not meet them in game 2, but I'll tell you this with Zach Wilson, that offensive line, dude. Ooh, especially the tackle play, that third unit, it was brutal.
Neither, to me, Stidham or Wilson have blown the doors off this competition. They're kind of on the same level, and it's like Bo Nix, and then here's them, then there's a major drop-off. If Sean Payton wants a ceiling, Zach Wilson's the guy. Jarrett Stidham has no ceiling. And Stidham has actually been more disappointing in preseason than I thought he would be. He's just such a boring brand of football. At least with Zach Wilson, it's never really boring one way or the other, Chad. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be a big play, good or bad.
If everyone's making Tom Brady comparisons relative to the Broncos quarterback position, I'll say that Jarrett Stidham is Tom Brady lacking cashews or something, lacking to keep it family friendly. Michaela says, who's the quarterback that has had 2 interceptions in 2 games? There is but one. Jarrett Stidham, unfortunately. Now, I'm trying to think of what the first one was. Was it a tip? What was the first interception? I know the one last night, obviously, was a tip at the line. I'm trying to remember.
It was off a P Ryan, wasn't it?
That's right. It was off the P Ryan. That's right. Both of them were tips. Yep. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Zach. Bobble tip, pop, 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 picked off. Not his fault. That wasn't his fault. For what it's worth, that one, not his fault. You can argue the second one. I'm just playing here, Zach, devil's advocate in favor of Jarrett Stidham, giving him the benefit of the doubt here. But the second one, you could even argue wasn't his fault. That interior player was like in his lap when he went to he probably wasn't expecting him to be in the lane where he was to tip it. But nevertheless, that one was like right at the line of scrimmage. And you never know when a ball gets tipped how that sucker's going to come down.
I mean, with the quarterbacks, there's ceiling. Obviously, Zach has them there. I mean, there's investment, there's salary. Jarrett Stidham's making more than Zach Wilson's a point that you've made a bunch, Chad. And again, if you don't have to worry about Bo Nix, he stays healthy, he's your locked-in starter, then you can kind of play around with your backup a little bit. You can have a pet project. And if that's the criteria, it's another check in Zach Wilson's box.
Franklin, Lewis, hey, who needs this third preseason game the most, in your guys' opinion? Well, honestly, I'm gonna keep it top line here, Zach, and I'm gonna say Jarrett Stidham, because last night, of course, it's a 9 News KUSA local broadcast. You had Steve Levy and Ryan Harris doing the play-by-play and color commentary, respectively, and then, of course, the obligatory appearance in the booth of Mike Kliss, and his appearance was marked by a visual. So they put up graphics of Mike Kliss's 53-man roster projection. And when it showed the quarterback projection, showed Bo Nix clearly making the roster, but both other quarterbacks, Stidham and Wilson, in yellow, signifying being on the bubble. He went on, did Kliss, Zach, to say that Stidham has earned a spot on this roster. I'm not so sure. I think Jarrett Stidham, considering, Zach, what we've heard Sean Payton say about Zach Wilson, gushed about him when they first got him, even just as lately as I think that clip was from either Friday or Saturday's Broncos camp practice, or Friday or Thursday's Broncos camp practice, gushing about Zach Wilson. You can save $5 million or whatever it is by making him your number 2 Q. I think Jarrett Stidham really needs this third preseason game, to be honest with you, Franklin.
I think they both do, to be fair. I don't see Sean Payton after this preseason keeping all 3 quarterbacks. You might see if you can flip Stidham for like a 7th or 6th round pick, but it's going to come down to one. There's one seat for 2 players. So the quarterbacks for sure. And also someone we mentioned a few minutes ago, Samaje Perine. He's on the outside looking into that running back room, Chad, and he needs at least a pretty big game 3 to salvage any sort of hope of cracking the 53. Right now, he's a cut candidate.
Indeed, Franklin, appreciate you, brother. There's a few guys, like I think Frank Crum, who a lot of people were excited about because of how enormous he is. He is not cut out for the NFL, guys. Like, at least not right now. He needs a lot of time to ripen, and you're kind of out of time. You need to be a little bit closer to a finished product in order to, for an NFL team anyway, to commit time and money to developing you. I have not seen one redeeming anything other than Cat's size. Now, he's an undrafted rookie, so it's whatever. I want to keep it on the O-line, though, Zach, relative to Franklin's topic here, and then we'll get to Eric and Dennis here very shortly. But I want to talk about their swing tackle position generally speaking. I was excited after game 1, Zach, about DeMontre Jacobs. Played like an animal out there, like total beast on both ends as a pass blocker and especially as a run blocker. Didn't really build on that in game 2.
Yeah.
Pal, what do we say? What we're going to call
Alpal.
Alpal. Sorry, dude. Matt Pert. Nah, I'm not seeing anyone stepping forward, Zach, to seize the swing tackle. So I think, especially Pert, especially Alpal, those two guys, and Jacobs, if he wants to be anything more than a practice squad fringe guy, they need this third game.
I'm not seeing much on the offensive line beyond the starters to begin with, Chad, in general. Like the guard play has been pretty, subpar, minus the first stringers. I know Forsyth's got some work in there at guard, flipping with center, but they need maybe some veteran presence there. Maybe it's time to go out on the open market and bring in someone with experience.
Well, it's like I wrote in the takeaways article. It's like the swing guard, the swing tackle positions, maybe they're not filled until after the roster cuts, around the NFL. And Sean Payton loves doing that. I mean, the Broncos traditionally always kept a little Evan Mathis money around. There's a reason why we call it Evan Mathis money. That dude was signed on the doorstep of the season. So you can find studs. You can find Zach stars, and you're not necessarily looking for like a star for a swing guy or a backup guy, but there are going to be some dudes cut loose for other extenuating circumstantial reasons, right? Like, oh, it might be money here. It might, whatever the examples might be, not necessarily play, it might be age, but they got one more year in them to be a backup or whatever. I predict that the Broncos make some O-line waiver claims here in about 10 days' time.
Who knew we'd miss Quinn Bailey so bad? The backup tackle / guard / fixer in the second string. He's out with an injury still. Hopefully, like you said, Chad, they go out and reinforce that, because right now I'm all for young guys getting the reps and developing, but not looking too great there as a whole.
All right, we've got one here from Eric Flynn on Facebook. Thank you, buddy. The interceptions might not have been Stidham's fault, but I don't believe in coincidences. A man after my own heart, nor do I. The first one for sure, though, you can't, honestly, that one you just can't put on Stidham, dude. Like, that was a for sure bobble on P. Ryan's part, Zach.
There's something here, Eric, that I agree with. I'm not sure exactly how to verbalize it or if it comes off too conspiratorial, but there is just a luck factor, and the game breaks your way. And it broke Bo Nix's way the first couple games. A few balls were dropped that could have been picks. He looked good yesterday. He was kept clean. It hasn't broken the same way for Jarrett Stidham. It just seems like he's having the no good, very bad, terrible, horrible day, Chad, and Bo Nix is just capitalizing. It's really, NFL a lot is about momentum, and Stidham has had none of it in the preseason.
All right, we've got Dennis Woods checking in on Super Chat. Thank you, bro. So good to see you. This is a cat that goes, as far as I can remember, back with the MHH Super Chat Superstar community. So it's great to see you, bro. He says, I'm thinking the Broncos will keep all 3 quarterbacks. Thoughts? It's possible. It's possible, but I think a lot of that arithmetic, Zach, comes down to, roster math, comes down to what they do at other positions. Like, they have a real logjam at receiver. Do you want to go heavy on receiver, Zach? Do you want to go heavy on offensive line? Do you want to go heavy on carrying like a 5th safety? If you want to go heavy on one of these other positions or even 2 of these other positions, you can't afford to keep 3 quarterbacks. Now, that does on the active, right? You could still maybe keep one of them if they pass through waivers unclaimed or whatever on the practice squad. But I disagree. I don't think they'll end up keeping 3. Just now, before the preseason started, Dennis, I would be like, I wouldn't surprise me if they keep 3. But after seeing it come out in the wash now through 2 games, I think there can only be one. It's like, Highlander and the Kurgan. There can be only one. One of them stays, one of them goes.
I don't see the point in keeping all 3. Sean Payton called them stray dogs that all found different paths to the Broncos. One of those dogs is the permanent starter now, QB1, Bo Nix. Do you really want to have 2 stray dogs hanging around when you can have maybe a pure breed at another position, Chad, and maybe take another receiver, another offensive lineman, cornerback? That's the way I would go. There's no utility keeping both Stidham and Wilson behind Bo Nix.
Now, if both Stidham and Wilson were just like balling out on a level similar to Bo Nix,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, but we're not seeing that. The Duchess jumped in with a third super chat
Thank you,
tonight.
Michaela.
Love you. She says, who is this Keydron Smith who is racking up interceptions? They were pretty. Any chance for him to start? I don't think any chance for him to start without injuries. But here's a little something about Keydron Smith, who is, a pretty new guy relative to Broncos zeitgeist. He was signed back in December. Okay. This cat originally, former undrafted rookie, out of Mississippi. All right. So Ole Miss received some second team all SEC honors. Let's see. He has yet to appear in a game, but has spent time with both the Dolphins and Commanders. That's really it. He's just a young, untested dude that's capitalizing on his opportunities, Zach, in Broncos camp.
I just talked about momentum and it being so important, and it's been right place, right time for Keydron Smith the last 2 preseason games. And at the very least, Michaela, no chance for him to start. That'll be PJ Locke and Brandon Jones, but practice squad seems like it's a near certainty for Keydron with the way he's performing, Chad.
Indeed. But he is interesting, exciting. I want to see him continue to stick around and contribute, because that was one of the hallmarks of Vance Joseph's 2023 defense was the takeaways. And one of those ball hawks is gone, right? In Justin Simmons. So you need guys that have a nose for that ball. Brandon Williams, what's up, brother? Thank you for the support on Facebook, big dog. He says, I want to piggyback off of Eric's comment. The offense doesn't have all the penalties, it seems, when Nix is playing. Doesn't matter if he's playing with the first or second string guys. Yeah, you're not seeing, and that was one of the, and you're not wrong, Brandon. It's absolutely true. Now the question is why, and are there implications? Is there meaning therein, or is it, just happenstance? But Zach, we go back to, I'm reminded of Sean Payton, his conversation, and he's since said this in other places, Zach, but that podcast appearance, Unbreakable, with Jay Glazer. And he talked about how, Bo Nix, the system quarterback, blah, 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 doubts and questions about his arm. And so they took away all the gimme throws on film for the 2024 quarterback class, not just Bo Nix, but all of them when they were scouting them. All the gimme throws, some intern had to remove that from the film, and then they watched, and Bo Nix was first in his class in all these key metrics and categories. But specifically, the things that stuck out to Sean Payton was his stubbornness in avoiding the negative plays, whether it's sacks, Zach, or turnovers of any kind, fumbles, interceptions. And so that's a hallmark of Nix's game, is what I'm getting at. He does not take sacks. He does not turn it over. So, and then of course the penalties, I don't know. It's hard to understand that one. I think in Stidham's case, Zach, that first game, you had a few different offensive penalties, a little bit of a unfortunate lack of poise for Tim Patrick's penalty, but a couple of O-line, like a false start, if memory serves, at least one false start that just doomed a couple of his 2 drives that he got or whatever. But I don't know, something about when Nix is in there, Zach, the cylinders are firing the way they should be.
He just has it, and you can't define what it is, but Bo Nix has it. And I can answer the question, if I could, with a quote from PJ Locke after yesterday's game. This was Locke on Bo Nix. Quote, he's super, super efficient. Man, I think he's like a very seasoned rookie, the way he marches down the field, the way he carries himself, the confidence he has. He has confidence in his arm. He's able to read the defense and make the right reads. Man, he just continues to get better every week. Our job is to challenge him in practice, and man, he's stepping up big time. That is why, Chad, because what he projects on the field, the way he carries himself, the aura that Bo Nix has, Jarrett Stidham just can't replicate. Bo Nix is the prom king, and Jarrett Stidham is the AV kid trying to match popularity. It'll never happen.
Well said. Hey, Justin wants to know, where's Troy Franklin? So everybody, when you go to Thanksgiving, right, and you're seeing the family, parts of your family you haven't seen for a while, whatever, and the adults are over here, and there's that little kids table. Scott knows what I'm talking about here. Marvin Mims, Troy Franklin, that's where they are. They're chilling over there. For whatever reason, it's unclear. We know that Troy Franklin has had his rookie struggles so far. I'm more mystified, to be frank with you, Justin. I'm more mystified over Marvin Mims being relegated to the kids' table. What's up with that?
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, Troy Franklin was a mid-round pick. They had a second-round grade, but he did not go in the second round. Marvin Mims did go in the second round, and the Broncos traded up to get him in the second round. Not worried about Franklin. He needed some, some tough coaching. I think he had a little bigger head on his shoulders coming into the NFL after what he did in college, and he was humbled pretty quickly by that, Chad. But you're right. Marvin Mims needs to get involved because he should be starting this year. This was his year after they traded away Jerry Jeudy. And for Tim Patrick, as much as I love TP, for him to come back after not playing for 2 consecutive seasons and for him to take over that wide receiver 2 spot, what are you doing, Marvin?
I'm going to maintain the most homeristic, optimistic lens on Marvin Mims, and I'm going to say we're not seeing him utilized with the ones because Sean Payton's still trying to hide him from the NFL because he's got big plans for him this fall. That's what I'm going to tell myself, even if it may not be true. Chandler Howard, a newer name, checking in on Super Chat. Yes, indeed. Welcome, big dog. Make yourself known.
Thank you, Chandler.
He says, fan from Kentucky here. Love the show. Thank you, buddy. I think we need to moderate expectations for this year, but nonetheless be excited. Yeah, I mean, what are your expectations, Zach? I mean, it's unfair, I think, but that's the business we're in. It's unfair, perhaps, to be asked to, reveal an expectation or even a prediction for this team 2 preseason games in. But nevertheless, here we are. We both have a microphone in front of our face. And one clear camera, one kind of fuzzy camera. It's all good. I'm just busting your chops, dude, trying to fix it. But what's your answer for Chandler?
Yeah, I wasn't sure if I'm having an aneurysm or not. Apparently I'm good, Chad. But expectations should be held in check. I don't want to come off on these podcasts like I'm crowning Bo Nix as the next Drew Brees, Super Bowl champion. He hasn't proven anything in a regular season game. He's going to have to do that in Seattle in week 1 going forward. But I haven't felt this good personally, and I'm not just talking about for one season, but for the future of the Broncos football club with Bo Nix under center. My own personal expectations, unlike previous years, I'm deviating from those 11, 12 win prognostications. And I'll say there is no reason if Bo Nix hits, they can't be a 9, 10 win team at their ceiling. Their floor may be 6, 7 wins, but nothing near what the national media thinks, some of them with these 3 and 14 first pick in the draft, worst team in the NFL. That's way off base to me.
That's just ignorant people who didn't do any of their own homework on Bo Nix, just going based off headlines that he has a noodle arm and is a system quarterback and what a joke that he went at number 12. People that have no business even being in this business. That's a result of that kind of thing. The Broncos are going to be, they're going to be somewhere between an 8 and an 11 win team is my. Now that's quite a window you created for yourself there, Jensen. And it's true, but I'm just telling you, I'm not trying to be quite as, convenient as Mike Kliss is. They're going to be 11 and 6 or 6 and 11. That's not what I'm trying to say, but I see honestly, Zach, the floor is like 8 wins ish. I'm going to say if you could get 8 out of Russ,
right,
oil and water, what can Sean get out of a Bo Nix led team that he does what you expect him to do when he's out there in the scheme you designed each and every game. So I'm stoked. Whoa, we got Troy checking in from the city of brotherly love, one of the founding members of the OG MHHUN, aka Eclipse Stormborn, legendary mythical figure. What's up, bro? It's so good to see you. He says, happy Monday, priests and Broncos family. My enthusiasm for this season is at an all-time mile high. I'm loving it. Peace and love from Philly. Yes, sir. Pardon me. So good to see you, Troy. Hope you've been doing well, big dog.
Yeah, thank you, Troy. Good to see you as always. You're definitely one of the founding members of this podcast, Chad. And you were talking about that Sean Payton should mine more results than he got with Russell Wilson. That's why I don't understand the 3 and 14 predictions. You mean to tell me that the Broncos are going to be 2 wins less or, 2 wins worse than they were with Russell Wilson and Nathaniel Hackett, let alone Russell Wilson and Sean Payton? It's
Right.
just a lot of bias, a lot of ignorance. And like Troy says here, the optimism, a lot of Broncos fans are saying they'll all see. Let them hate for now, but they'll all see.
Yeah, that 3-win, 4-win stuff, that's bullish. That's guys that are either just straight ignorant
Trolling.
or agenda driven. Worst case, if it bugs you enough, just close out and come back in, and I'll hold it down if it's getting out. It's fine. I don't think it's a big deal for what it's worth. We're almost Yeah, it's a good opportunity. 2-minute warning, guys. Camera malfunctions. Yeah, and that's the other thing Scott brings up. Good point, dude. This is something that has to be mentioned. Little receivers. What does Troy Franklin and Mims have in common? They're not these big, strong, massive X guys, like the X-Men. That's what you want to see a Broncos. When I was a kid, Zach, I had 3 Amigos posters on my wall in the 80s, right? Of Mark Jackson, Vance Johnson, and Ricky Nattil. You could do an X-Men poster and do a riff off the Marvel, cinematic universe for Sean Payton's wide receiver room, with every guy being 6'4". Now look, Troy Franklin, he's 6'2", I want to say, but he's skinny, right? He's a diminutive 6'2" or whatever. He can grow into that, but for now, Zach, he's little. And Marvin Mims, he's 5'10", 5'11", whatever he is. He's more of a twitch guy. Sean Payton has had some successful guys that aren't 6'4". I mean, Brandon Cooks was a guy that had some success there. But I'm trying to think back to some of those teams back in the day, the early Payton teams with Breeze. I think they're all the X-Men. They're the Marcus Colstons, guys like that. I'll have to go down memory lane on that, though.
I'm not sure if Joe Horn was still there when Sean Payton was. He might not have been, but he was on the smaller side. But regardless, it's true that they're diminutive and they're not Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick skyscrapers, but they also offer something that no other receiver on the roster can really do, and that's blow the top off a defense with pure game-breaking speed. It's why you have to hope your second-round pick that you traded up for because of that speed and Marvin Mims could finally break through and realize his potential. The fact that he's running in the second half of a preseason game is not good.
That's right. So you had like Devery Henderson. Remember him? He was only 5'11". He was a guy that was a Payton dude in New Orleans. Joe Horn was there for his first year, by the way, Sean Payton. And he kind of had injuries, though. That was his last year with the Saints. Joe Horn only had 9 starts, I should say. But I'm just looking here. This is the 2006 box score stats, right? Okay, just to remind myself of some of these guys. Wide receivers, here's who you had back then for Sean Payton. You had Devery Henderson, Terrence Cooper. Let's see, Terrence Cooper was 6 foot, okay. You had Marcus Colston, who was, big guy, 6'4". So he was like your Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick, Jamal Jones. They Lance Moore, he was a little guy. Remember Lance Moore? 5'9", but he didn't play much that year for whatever reason. But yeah, I think Scott's onto something. Little receivers get no love. Little receivers get little love, Zach, from Sean Payton.
I just hope he can make the most chicken salad out of the situation with Marvin Mims, Troy Franklin. They also have, Jalen Virgil, some speed guys that I want to see Bo Nix connect with, not just the possession, 10 yards down the sideline, Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick types.
I mean, even Lil Jordan Humphrey, 6'4", dude. It's like specimens is what Sean Payton tends to prioritize. George, what's up, bro? Looks like we got a real team this year. As long as we play like we've been playing, great pod, guys. Hit the like button. Yes, indeed. Absolutely true, I think. Gerald Hendy, what's up, buddy? Good to see you as well on Facebook. He says 2 ifs for this season. If Bo Nix can play in regular season, in regular season as he does in preseason. So if Bo can play in the regular season as he has in the preseason, and if everyone stays healthy, everyone is an absolute, right? So everyone is not going to stay healthy. News flash on that, but I get what you're trying to say. We have a shot at winning the division. We had a chance last year, even with Russell Wilson, Zach.
And this is where I kind of pump the brakes on being too homerific, Chad. I mean, that was the worst regular season of the Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid era. So the fact the Broncos lucked their way in contention, and I think it's the exception and not the rule. Let's let the Broncos come out week 1 victorious. Let's let the Broncos finally beat the Raiders for the first time in however many years. How about sweeping the Chiefs, not just splitting or losing? Small victories before we start, setting our sights on dethroning the kings of the West.
All right, we're going to grab this one from Leroy, and then, guys, we're about out of here. So this is your last call. Any burning topics, questions, supers, get them in the chat right now. Leroy, good to see you, bro. He says, long time no see, guys. Mile high salute. Right back at you. Very excited for this upcoming season with Bo Nix under center. I think we finally have our franchise QB. So do I. Go Broncos. I really do. If I have a bold prediction to offer, it might not be on the subject, Zach, of how many games the Broncos win this year, but I do believe they finally found a franchise guy. Bo Nix, to me, is that dude. And the implications are great. That's the first step to being a legit, competitively relevant NFL team. And then the rest you can kind of build around. And, this year they've had some challenges. I think, the Russell Wilson albatross of a contract and all that dead money, it's going to have its impact. Broncos absorbing what was 50 something million this year, right, Zach? I mean, that comes out in the wash. I think most importantly, you're seeing that impact the offensive line probably, along with some key positions on defense. Won't always be that way, but you've got a still young Bo Nix, franchise guy. He's an older 24-year-old. I mean, he's an older rookie at 24, but still he's 24, Zach. You can go for 12, 15 years. Let's go.
This is my own personal opinion. I would rather the Broncos finish 7-10. I'm not saying they will, but I'd rather they do that with Bo Nix and he proves he's the guy than the Broncos limp to a wild card with Jarrett Stidham. Because again, it's not just about 2024. They didn't select Bo Nix with this year alone in mind. They selected Bo Nix, hopefully, like Chad just kind of hinted at, for the next decade plus of him being under center. So no matter what the record is, what the stats are, if Bo Nix shows that he is the guy this year, that is a massive, massive success.
All right, guys, we got a few messages for you. Then we're dipping on out of here, so don't leave quite yet.
Tremendous episode, as always, of the Mile High Huddle podcast. If you're not doing so, please follow us on Twitter at the MHH Pod. You can follow the main account on Twitter at Mile High Huddle. Chad at Chad and Jensen, myself at Kelberman NFL, and Scott, our producer, at Scout Kennedy. If you guys want some merch like we're rocking each and every single podcast, get yours at mhhmerch.com. If you haven't done so yet, drop us a like at facebook.com/milehighhuddlepod. You can also find us on Instagram at mile_high_huddle. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure you're leaving your football priest a 5-star review for a chance to win some of that merch each and every single month. But if anything, y'all, please, please, please subscribe, like, and share this video and every video you see on the MHH channel. It really helps us grow and reach more Broncos fans. Just like you.
Hey, Jake9299 on Instagram. I keep forgetting Instagram comments, Zach, because they're not in the StreamYard single comment stream. But he says this, to give him some props for being with us on IG. What was it? Mahomes had the highest rate of dropped intercepted passes. You look at a career, and a lot of it is luck. It can be. But what I remember most, I think parallel-wise here, is like Bo Nix. It's not even a parallel, but Bo Nix has been as advertised. I remember Patrick Mahomes as a rookie. They were freaking out about all the interceptions he was throwing in training camp, but they were comforted because they had Alex Smith. Guys, don't worry so much about it. But love you. Hey, a mile high salute and a special shout out to the great Super Chat superstars and supporters tonight, helping us seriously keep the lights on, like the Duchess, Michaela Parker, 2 top rope Super Chats, and then a 3rd. Thank you, Michaela. We love you. You know this. Sam Bam, the Papa Bear, David McElrath, Franklin Lewis throwing down, becoming a consistent force with his dope AF Bo Nix, blue Bo Nix jersey. Eric Flynn, the Ronk, let's see, Dennis Woods, an OG up in Michigan, Brandon Williams, Justin Massey, Chandler Howard, a newer name, bro. Stick around. Troy coming back to the campfire. So good to see you. Don't be a stranger. Hashtag MHHUN. Zach and I are off till Thursday, but we can't wait to see you then. Have a great week, everybody.
I think we might talk about the Broncos starting announcement by them with Mr. Bo Nix, but have a great start to your week, everyone. We'll see you Thursday night. Take care, and as always, go Broncos.